Hey everyone, I essentially just wanted to do like a different sort of video. I kind of want to talk about some things that interest me, and one of the things that interests me a lot is the subject of an adaptation. Now, a lot of people don't realize that there's adaptations for pretty much everything. We experience it with it every day. You have adaptations from books going into movies, those movies turn into video games, stuff like that. So I guess this is like a video where I compare and contrast some adaptations that I think are good and some adaptations that I think are thumbs down bad. An adaptation I would consider one that a lot of people consider is really bad is Dragon Ball Evolution. Now, I can actually tell you this. I remember back last year, 2025, back when Invincible Season 3, we were waiting on the finale, and me and my buddy Van and a few others, we were like, oh man, the finale comes out in an hour, we gotta do something to pass the time. And we watched Dragon Ball Evolution. Now, all of us basically came to the realization that this movie, it's like on the tipping toe crust of understanding what it's adapting, but it ultimately misses the mark like so much. Like, it has elements from the original Dragon Ball. Obviously you have Goku, but it's like, this is an identifier of a bad adaptation. Like, take it from this way. You have Goku in the manga, and even in the anime, who basically acts as this fighting junkie guy who likes to fight a lot of people. That's Goku. That's who Goku is. Sure, he has friends and family who he wants to protect, but at the end of the day, Goku really likes the thrill of the fight. He's not like a traditional superhero. Now, I'm gonna get into that. But in Dragon Ball Evolution, it does this weird, like, stupid fucking thing where they have Goku go to high school, and they give him a bad haircut. And he's played by like a British guy. It's just overall like weird. But like I said, it's like it gets aspects, like it's so close to like hitting the head on the donkey. Like, oh man, we gotta go find Master Roshi's house. And then Master Roshi's house is like, it's not surrounded by water, but it's like a house surrounded by like empty pits because they're doing constructions around the house or some shit like that. It's stuff like that. Like, you can obviously see like, they probably read like a Wikipedia synopsis to get that done, but even then, it still occurs to me that they were like really close to it. And speaking of Goku, like in the adaptation sense, anime Goku, or at least the original Z Goku, is also kind of a weird adaptation of Goku. Like I said before, Akira Toriyama, sorry, excuse me, I fucked that up, I'm not gonna edit that out, but Toriyama, one of the things he didn't like about Z Goku, back when the anime series was originally running all those years ago, was the fact that they kind of made Goku into this like goody two-shoes who fights for justice, when that was not necessarily the case of how Toriyama wanted Goku to be depicted. He wanted Goku to be depicted as someone who loves to fight because he just loves to fight. Nigga, he just loves to fight. Like, oh my god, he loves to fight. That's Goku. He loves to eat, he loves to fight, and he also loves to make friends and shit. Or he just makes friends, has them turn a new leaf. But in the anime, it has Goku like a goody two-shoes. Like that one scene where he goes Super Saiyan, he was like, oh man, I'm the hope of the universe. I'm the light in the darkness. Like, Goku wouldn't fucking say that shit. Motherfucker doesn't care about any of that. Motherfucker likes to fight. It's stuff like that where I would say, like, yeah, it's probably like not so good of an adaptation of the characteristics. But you can still look at that and still go like, yeah, that's Goku, I suppose. Yeah, that's Goku. Like, for real, like, the Z-dub really had Goku going out like, oh man, I am the answer for all living things that cry out for peace. And it's just like, I don't know, man. Like, But back onto Evolution Goku, like, it is just straight up not Goku. Like, to me, I feel like there's adaptations for a character, and then there's adaptations for their stories. So, in this case, adaptations for the original Dragon Ball, adaptation for Goku as a character. Obviously, the movie's fucking riddled with bad adaptations out the fucking wazoo, like, I think almost everyone in there is probably badly adapted, but I think Goku is the more offending one, because he's the main MC, like, he's the main guy. Like, him going to high school, him using his ki to impress, oh my god, why I can't speak. Him going to high school and using his ki powers to try and impress Chi-Chi. Listen, I feel like in terms of adaptations, and this is just my personal opinion, I feel like some adaptations, they don't need to be one-to-one for how the original story was told, you know? Like the character we're going to talk about later on, you know, the big one, like he's probably the best example of that. But when I feel like it's something like this, on this scale, I feel like a proper adaptation for the first go-around is always important. I would say other stories where it's like a first-time adaptation onto the big screen, like case in point, the original Captain America, First Avenger. That's a great adaptation with also original element. Case in point, in the original comics, Bucky, he actually isn't around the same age of Steve Rogers. He's actually like a child soldier, kind of like Batman and Robin, but you know, in World War II. And that was their relationship, more like a father and son dynamic. But when it came time for it to be adapted into the MCU, they decided to go with more of a buddies approach, where Bucky and Steve were around the same age. That's like something of an adaptation, but changing it up a little bit, where it's more, it's more of an original thing than it is like a straightforward one-to-one port. And to that I say, Dragon Ball Evolution doesn't even bother to do. Like, it's just so weird, honestly. And this isn't like really a review of the movie, but it's just like, oh, it's just so weird. Like, that scene of him like sliding his fucking head on the car is like probably the only redeeming quality about that movie whatsoever. And then like the Kamehameha looks cool, even though I think it's stupid that he's like, he flies out when he does it. I think that's really ridiculous. But I think it's like one of those cases where you can just see like they were like so close. If they just, instead of reading like a fucking Wikipedia synopsis or going onto the Dragon Ball fandom wiki, they could have just actually like read like some of these stories and like made their own original narrative while also being truthful to the characters. But no, it was like, I don't want to fucking do that. I'd rather do something else. Now, in terms of bad adaptations, I cannot talk about this series of movies without even bringing up the Sony universe of Marvel characters. And more specifically, I can't not talk about Tom Hardy's Venom. This is a bad adaptation. It's so bad. Like, to me, it's absolutely insane that people will look at you, dead in the eye, mind you, and go like, yeah, I think the Venom movies are pretty good. And it's just like, alright, well, what's good about them? Like, they're funny? Okay, I give you that. Are they any good, though? Probably not. Actually, no, they aren't. And I saw Venom 1 when it came out, when I could have watched the season 4 finale of The Flash, goddamn. But what exactly is bad about Tom Hardy's Venom, you might ask? Well, for me, I feel like it's too fucking silly, bro. Like, it's too silly. Like, I know that's, like, not an original, like, fucking assessment when it comes to Tom Hardy's Venom, but that's what it is. Like, I remember when the first Venom movie was announced to be in development, right? I feel like a lot of people, including myself, were wondering, oh, okay, you know, like, Sony, they kind of own the film rights to these characters, so can they make it rated R? No? Okay, well, it's going to be PG-13. Okay, that's not so bad. They can push the limit on PG-13. And then, you know, it came out, and it's just like, Venom is like a funny guy. And while that is inherently, you know, subjective, I don't think it's pretty funny. Like, I would have loved to see a more serious film adaptation take on Venom. Like, I'll even go as far and say that aside from how Venom looked in Spider-Man 3, I feel like Venom, or Eddie Brock rather, was probably more betterly adapted than fucking Venom in his own, like, solo movie. Like, I think, to me, that's the crazier part. Like, you gotta take a look at it like this. In the comics, Eddie Brock, he was kind of like the inverse of Peter Parker in a way, where Peter Parker, he was selfless, this guy was selfish, you know? And, you know, obviously Peter Parker wronged him, and he wronged the symbiote, so those two together, they made Venom. In this movie, there's no connective tissue like that, and I think this is an overall issue with the Sony universe of Marvel characters, where there's no Spider-Man. A lot of these characters do not exist without Spider-Man in some way, shape, or form. I only say some of them, because Madam Web, honestly, you can argue, like, she doesn't really need Spider-Man to exist, and characters like Morbius, but motherfuckers like Kraven, motherfuckers like Venom, motherfuckers like Carnage, like, yeah, they might need the Spider-Man to, like, help them, like, be made. Especially case in point with Venom. Like, again, I feel like this is the second time Venom's been adapted, and maybe, depending on who you ask, it's alright if they get a little bit of leeway with how they do it. But to me, I feel like, especially if this is the second try, we should at least aim for something that's a bit more comic accurate. If it's like the third or fourth time, then yeah, I mean, like, you know, feel free to change it up. Like, we don't want to see, like, Uncle Ben get shot again for, like, the 50th time. But I feel like Venom cannot exist without Spider-Man. And Sony goes, yeah, he does. I feel like it's just nothing. Like, it's just nothing but stupid, silly shit. And I know, like, Venom doing stupid, silly shit is, like, a part of his comic history, but it's not all of his comic history. Like, this is the same guy who, when he put on the symbiote in front of his wife, scared his wife so much, she jumped out of a window and committed suicide. This is that character. And to me, I feel like it's kind of like a slap in the face to people who actually like that stuff about the character. Now, like I said, Venom doing silly shit, especially in the Big 26, you know, yeah, you'll see it. Like, oh my god, like in Marvel Rivals, they had this boy shaking his ass. Like, come on. Like, but still, I feel like if they're doing a solo movie, they should at least try and be respectful to some of the characters' more neutral roots instead of just going too much into the camp with the later sequels. I feel like actually the first Venom movie probably did it the best, where Venom was a little silly, but he was also, you know, pretty cool. I feel like he could have been a little bit more serious, but I don't like Tom Hardy's Venom as an adaptation of the character, especially later on. Like, oh my god, it's just fucking... Like, what the fuck am I looking at? Like, what is this? This is cringe. Like, get this off my screen. Now, juxtaposed with a bad adaptation of a Spider-Man character, let's talk about adaptations of Spider-Man. So obviously we have the big three. We have Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man, my personal favorite. Now, even though I said Tom Holland's my personal favorite, you may take this as, okay, so what's bad about Andrew and Tobey? And to that, I will say, nothing. To me, I feel like Tobey and Andrew and Tom, they all represent different parts of Spider-Man's life as a superhero, which is weird because in all those movies he starts off as a teenager, but you know, that's besides the point. But I feel like they all represent different parts of Spider-Man's history. Like, I feel like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is more of a reserved Peter Parker from the 60s. You have Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, which definitely feels more like early 2000s Spidey prior to One More Day. And then Tom Holland Spider-Man feels like a weird mixture of the 2016 Spidey run and a little bit early 60s, and then definitely with a dash of Ultimate Spider-Man. And I feel like those make for good adaptations of the characters. And it also helps that Tobey Maguire's first Spider-Man and then even Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man 1 both set the stage on what the origin of Peter Parker is, you know? And also, keeping in line with our adaptations and how it changes to the source material, I feel like both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, they don't even adapt the radioactive spider portion of Peter Parker's origin, you know? Quick little detour, let's talk about Ultimate Spider-Man 2000. The original Ultimate Spider-Man from the year 2000. Short history lesson, Marvel was going bankrupt in the 90s. They did a lot of stuff to keep their company afloat, and one of the things that they did was start a new comic run, not beholden to the prior main Marvel continuity, called Ultimate Universe. And in this, there would be modern, quote-unquote modern, because we're in the big 26 now, 26 years, and quote-unquote modern re-envisions of these characters. And Spider-Man was one of those first characters, the first ever issue in the Ultimate Universe. And in this universe, the big difference between Peter Parker's in the main Marvel Universe's origin versus Ultimate Peter 1610's is that Peter was bit by a radioactive spider in the main Marvel continuity, and in the Ultimate continuity, he was bit by a genetically altered spider with the Oz formula, which pretty much makes him immortal. I'm sorry, I don't mean to spoil like this 10-year-old comic where he comes back to life after getting murked by the Green Goblin, but yeah, it was doing that shit, quite frankly. So both adaptations with Tobey Maguire's and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, they adapt the genetically altered spider. Think of it this way. In the main Marvel 616 continuity, when Peter gets his spider bite, he's just visiting a random science exposition where they're testing radioactive relays. A spider gets caught in the crossfire, gets radioactivified, if that's a fucking word, I have no idea, and goes to bite Peter, and later retconned also bites Cindy Moon. Perfect. Simple to the point. In the main and in Ultimate Marvel, they changed it where the spider that bit Peter actually came from Oscorp, which even now has proven to be like one of the most leading adaptations that most people do when it comes to adapting Spider-Man. Like even in the Insomniac Spider-Man PS4 games, Miles, he gets his spider bite via Oscorp, and I think it's implied that Peter, when he was a teen, he also got his spider bite from Oscorp. In the Spectacular Spider-Man and MTV Spider-Man continuities, they also got their powers from Oscorp, and especially implied with MTV, since that was originally going to be a midquel between Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2, but you know, it obviously didn't float out too well. But even besides origin differences, I feel like they both, or three of them actually, all three of them, act like Spider-Man would act, and they look like Spider-Man would act, right? They got the eyes, they got the logo, they got the web pattern. It's just the differences about them that makes them unique, in my opinion. Like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, he's a bit more zany. He's a bit more out there with his personality. I feel like Tobey's definitely more reserved as a Spider-Man, and probably the more funnier one too. And then Tom Holland's Spider-Man, while he hasn't quite found his footing yet, he somehow manages to be right in the middle. And I know that's like a saying. Oh my god, I know that was a saying definitely when Homecoming came out with, like, oh man, like Tobey Maguire was a good Peter Parker, Andrew Garfield was a good Spider-Man, Tom gets it as both. And I do, even though like it's been saying like that's been like the saying, I do feel like it's pretty valid, honestly. Like I feel like Tom Holland gets the best of both worlds in Spider-Man, and I feel like his Spider-Man-ness really shows off well in both Far From Home and Homecoming. And then his Peter Parker-ness really shows off really well in No Way Home, where it has more time to shine because, you know, the rest of the world knows who he is, basically. Shows his character a bit more, shows his selflessness, so that way he can do the right thing. I feel like that's pretty cool. But honestly, I could talk so much shit about those fucking shitty-ass Sony Spider-Man movies. Like, they are actually, like, so bad, I don't even know how people would even waste their time watching those movies. And the fact that they're actually gonna, like, reboot this shit as if that was the issue, and then they have the nerve to say some goofy shit like, oh man, we're not gonna, like, have those movies be made now, because you want people to miss your characters. It's like, okay, first off, dude, they're not your characters, alright? Second off, I don't think anyone's gonna miss Madam Web or Kraven or Morbius. Maybe Venom. But, like, does anyone care about any of that other stuff? Spider-Man, that Spider-Noir TV show that's coming out pretty soon, I'm not gonna watch it. It looks interesting, but, you know, at the same time, nah, I'm good. I think I like my Spider-Man stuff from Marvel, the actual guys who own the character. So, yeah. But yeah, that was my video on adaptations and stuff. I definitely, this is completely unscripted, so sorry if I'm like yapping a lot, but it is like something I've been very interested in. I know a lot of my friends, they definitely hear me bitch and moan and fucking complain about Tom Hardy's Venom non-stop, or at least they did at some point. But I wouldn't mind being opposed to making these kind of videos that aren't like just pure gameplay, because it's an interesting topic to talk about. Like, adaptations, especially like some of our most popular things are adaptations. Like Harry Potter, originals were the books, they're adapted into movies. People love the movies. I like the movies. I couldn't give two shits about the books, honestly. But it's just like a weird circle. It's like, it starts with the original source material. So case in point, let's say Spider-Man, just Amazing Spider-Man issue 1. And then that gets adapted, not like the comic, but just the character gets adapted into a movie, 2002 Spider-Man. And then that movie, based on the comic, this gets adapted into a game, which is the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man 1 game on the PlayStation 2. It's just a weird cycle of how all those things basically lead into one another. And I think that's pretty cool. But that's all I got. I've been recording for like 20 minutes. Like I said, I wouldn't be opposed to making these kind of videos again, just speaking my mind on how I feel about some of this stuff. And honestly, I may not even be right about some of this, which, you know, hey, that's fine. But I think it's an interesting topic to talk about, and I like talking about, you know, things that I'm interested in. So, we're going on for about 20 minutes, so I'm going to end it right here. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.